For the first time, never in our history has more bad information been available to more people.
In light of the 2020 election and current issues surrounding our modern government, the concept of where Americans, young ones especially, are getting their political ideas from has become a relevant issue in our society. The modern marketplace of ideas has changed drastically over time. Is this change influencing our democracy negatively? To begin, let's define what a marketplace of ideas is. The marketplace of ideas refers to the belief that the test of the truth or acceptance of ideas depends on their competition with one another and not on the opinion of a censor, whether one provided by the government or by some other authority. With the rise of the internet, how are modern marketplaces of ideas different now more than they were 20, 30, or even 40 years ago?
First, there's a lot more information out there, and so I think it's harder to discern what's real and what's not. Secondly, I would say that I think people are a lot more in their own sort of echo chambers than they ever were before.
We surveyed 114 teenagers to ask them where they get most of their political information from. 24 said through journalism sources such as online newspapers or print newspapers. 34 said through word of mouth from parents, friends, or extended family. 3 said other, and 53, or 46% of our candidates, said through social media such as Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
While social media provides an opportunity for there to be more speakers, which is something that we definitely need, it is not in any way, in my view, a replacement for media, mainstream media, or specifically professional journalism.
There are many examples of how modern marketplaces such as Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram have created corruption in relation to our political scheme. Because these platforms allow anyone to post anything, anywhere, at any time, it is easier now more than ever for corrupt information to be spread. Things like fake news or incorrect data can be easily believed by social media users and lead to a bias and uninformed stance surrounding political issues.
So much of what we see on the internet is cynically cast by foreign hostile governments, by cynical politicians to bend and change American opinion.
Many ask, are these privately owned social media companies morally responsible for making sure that the information being broadcast on their site is credible?
I think people have a moral responsibility to make sure that their own equipment, their own network is not being used to victimize the defenseless or to carry out acts of violence against others.
But privately owned marketplaces of ideas, such as social media, aren't all bad. In fact, they've helped candidates and voters that would normally go unheard have a voice.
So recently, Twitter announced that they were going to no longer accept political advertising on their platform. The Trump campaign released a statement sort of via tweet saying this is censoring speech, but like Trump doesn't need to advertise on Twitter. He has 66 million followers. The people who need to advertise on Twitter are challengers, right? People trying to break in to the marketplace of ideas. We don't want Twitter or any other tech platform being the body who's making decisions about who can enter the marketplace of ideas and under what conditions they can enter it. And so these things will just limit diversity in the marketplace of ideas.
Is government interference in regards to privately owned social media sites allowed? If so, is it justified?
Government, for a combination of constitutional reasons and just practical reasons, is not really in a good position to be adjudicating that. Most of the time that has to be done by the speaker or the manager of the platform itself.
I don't think a company like Facebook has the legitimacy or the capacity to adjudicate truthfulness, right? That's not their role. They're not responsive to us. I think, if people are concerned about misinformation, for example, on social media, that should be something that should be regulated by the government.
The real question is the rise of social media as a marketplace of ideas a threat? Should we as Americans be concerned that so much information that is being thrown at us comes from these sources?
I think it's definitely something we should be worried about. I think, a question is, how do you define democracy? If you define democracy as just participation, I would say more people participate nowadays. But if you define democracy as people acting in a way that's informed and making judgments and decisions based on reason and truth, that definitely is a threat to our democracy.
I don't see social media as something that in and of itself presents any threat to our form of government. A constitutional republic like ours isn't perfect, but it's less imperfect than every other form of government among mortal human beings that I'm aware of. It has very much a democratizing effect on society. Never in the history of the world has it been more possible for one person with so few resources to speak to so many. That can be a very good thing. It can be very democratizing. It can involve more people in government. But for it to have that effect, we have to be a discerning and a smart people. We have to be a moral and virtuous people, determined to look out for the truth, and sufficiently concerned about the concept of there being truth to begin with. Social media has the power to help us become whatever we want to become, for good or for ill. It has the power to do great harm. These bad people can use it to do bad stuff. It also has enormous potential for good.
We as Americans should strive to uphold the ideals of our democracy as best we can, identifying where we obtain our information within the marketplace of ideas, and striving to maintain marketplaces of ideas will provide us with a democracy that is more unified.